Hi, good to see you. Years later, at our grandmother's funeral, we ran into each other again. My sister had stolen my fiancé, William, and I was heartbroken. She said, "Poor you, old and single when your husband is rich, handsome, and a genius." I said, "Let me introduce you to my husband too." At this point, my sister turned pale, and I began to experience a startling shift in our family's dynamic. Emma, who had always been loved by our family, revealed her true colors, which led to the end of our relationship. The day started out as usual, with all the typical wedding preparations underway. The last details were almost finished, and there was a lot of excitement in the air. William and I had an order to finalize the guest list and check that everything was in order for our big day. We intended to meet in a nearby coffee shop. "Sophia, I'm really looking forward to it," William said as he smacked my hand in his. Dining room, I couldn't help but smile in response to the overwhelming feelings of love and eagerness. The thought of our wedding day still feels surreal. William and I are going to start a beautiful life together, and I couldn't be happier about it. But as we shared that joy, Emma, who had insisted on coming along, watched from across the table. Her supportive gaze actually concealed a calculating gleam, and I didn't notice it at the time. "I am overjoyed that you will be joining our family," Emma said to William, her voice endearing but tinged with a tone that eluded my opportunity to challenge. "You appear to be the one person who truly gets Sophia, and she has always needed someone like that." Thankful for what she said, William nodded. "Emma, I am much obliged." Emma began subtly poisoning our relationship, creating doubt and mistrust through secret meetings, whispered words, and calls. She took advantage of every opportunity to get closer to William by playing on his emotions and distorting reality. "Your sister means the world to me, but I had no idea." At one point in our relationship, I decided to surprise William by visiting his apartment. I thought it would be a nice way to start our life together, but when I got there, I was heartbroken to see Emma standing too close to William, her laughing filling the room where our Emma should have been. In a state of bewilderment and terror, I quaveringly demanded, "What are you doing here?" Emma stepped in just as William, who was visibly uneasy, attempted to explain. "Oh, Sophia, our plans were merely to have a delighted guests at the wedding. William and I had hoped that I might assist him in selecting a thoughtful present for you." But his explanation failed to mend my broken heart. The week that followed was a roller coaster of emotions, and Emma's constant presence threatened to derail our progress. William came to my house the night before we were married, looking solemn and filled with regret. William avoided making eye contact as he started to speak. "Sophia, I need to talk to you. I have been thinking a lot and—" "What is going on, William? I don't get it." I stepped in out of dread that the most unpleasant Emma and I have blossomed romantically. It wasn't intended, but it occurred. When he confessed, the words crushed my shattered hope. I felt my world crumble beneath me as tears streamed down my face. "Why would you subject me to this? Just how are you going to do it, Emma?" I looked up at my sister, who had been hiding in the darkness up until that point, and I yelled out, "I'm sorry, Sophia, but the reality is that William and I are." I was so crushed by their betrayal that I severed all ties with them. We called off the wedding, and I was no longer married to them. My sister and I had a total breakdown in our connection. Any connection we had before was shattered by the anguish and heartbreak. It was Emma's heartless deed. She did more than just take my heart, future with William, but it also made me start over, far from my sister's shadow, in the hopes that this time betrayal wouldn't occur. After that treachery, our relationship ended and I went on to complete in my previous life. I made the difficult decision to cut ties with my family in order to start over. I have since changed careers, married Noah, a fantastic man and the director of a hospital, and moved on. In the days after the wedding was called off, I put all of my belongings into boxes, giving each item a new purpose in my journey to recovery and rebuilding my life after Emma and William's treachery. I felt absolutely crushed, but I knew I had to get back up and keep going for my own sake. Brings back memories that I'd rather not think about anymore. "Is it necessary for you to actually go while helping me pack?" Sophia questioned my mom. "Are you crying?" Her voice quivered, but I had already made up my mind. "Yeah, Mom, I need a break. Somewhere I can start again free from all the things that have held me back in the past." I gave a forceful response about what had happened. Mom nodded, accepting that I couldn't turn back the clock on my decision, even though I was in so much anguish on the inside for abandoning her and everything I had ever known. You can count on my unwavering support. No, your distance is irrelevant. Much obliged, Mom. To me, that is very meaningful, I remarked, embracing her one final time before putting my belongings in the car and setting out on a journey to a fresh start. I relocated to a different city and secured employment at a modest clinic throughout the subsequent months. Medical working there was a pleasant change. I was able to regain my self-assurance while staying occupied. Noah, who shone a light in my shadows, was someone I met there. As the head of the clinic's affiliated hospital, Noah dropped by often to keep an eye on things. We gathered as operations and staff once, and I was studying some documents when I unintentionally spilled coffee on them. I tried to dab the spill with napkins and screamed, "Oh, I'm not really sorry. It's okay, they're just papers. You can get new ones." After Noah cheerfully offered to help me clean up after the disaster, I was immediately impressed by his calm demeanor and helpfulness. We began to communicate more after that. Over time, what began as a friendship blossomed into something more substantial when Noah invited me to lunch during breaks. Regarding another matter, he lacked comprehension, was consistently open to listening without passing judgment, and that put my mind at ease. Noah took me to a little park close to the hospital after we had been dating for a while. The sun's rays were filtered through the foliage on this sunny day. Looking down from the tree, my life has improved greatly since I met you, Sophia. You inspire me to be the best version of myself. I felt Noah's gaze lock with mine. Noah, I totally get it. You are absolutely amazing. In that instant, my heart was racing as I answered, Noah. He reached into his pocket and removed a little package. Noah and I were married in a small, intimate ceremony with only a handful of close friends and hospital coworkers. Looking back on that day, I knew I had made the right choice by leaving my old life behind. We started a new chapter together, filled with love and mutual respect, far away from the betrayals of the past. Through this new chapter, I learned that despite the challenges we faced, we were able to overcome them. There is perpetual hope for overcoming the scars of the past and discovering joy in the present. In particular, when one is ready to let go of the past and welcome the present with wide arms. We unexpectedly encountered a painful surprise as we eagerly anticipated a future filled with hope, love, and new experiences. It was a peaceful day when Emma abruptly contacted me after years of silence to inform me about our grandmother's death and demand my presence at the funeral. Despite the past bitterness, I could not resist her request. I was in the middle of making dinner when the phone started ringing, and I glanced at the screen to see Emma's name. We still hadn't talked, and for a second my heart froze. Every time the phone vibrates, a quivering hand appeared to be reiterating old grudges. I took a call. "Hi there. I hardly speak. Calling all Sophias. Our grandmother has passed away, and I'm contacting you, Emma," in what came across as a chilly and distant voice. The subsequent hush was thick with pent-up feelings, as I grieved the passing of my grandma, who. Emma's call caught me off guard, and I'm trying to compose myself for the burial this coming Friday. "I really need you to go, as it is her final wish. She always wanted us to mend our relationship. She has always been kind to me." Emma stated in a slightly lower voice than before. "It's all right. I'll be there." I replied with resignation, knowing what to expect from Emma and the rest of the situation, despite the bitterness and grief that Emma had inflicted in my life. The idea of not honoring my grandmother's last desire wounded me more. "Inside the family is certain to happen, Sophia." Your voice had an unusual genuineness that touched me deeply. After we ended the call, I sat in the kitchen, the phone still dangling in my fingers, lost in contemplation of the years that had passed. He could tell I was worried because he picked up on my worry. As he reached out to place his hands on my shoulders, he said, "All right, love." "Absolutely not. My grandma passed away." Emma gave me a call. I stated, "I have to attend the funeral this Friday." As the scenario started to sink in, despite Noah's strong embrace, "I'll still accompany you." He spoke in a forceful but reassuring tone, assuring you that you are not alone in this. Days flew by, and before we knew it, we were on our way to the funeral. Being deep in contemplation, none of us spoke during the journey. There was a heavy stillness in the air upon our arrival, broken only by the faintest of murmurs from the other guests. A knot formed in my stomach the moment I laid eyes on Emma. With a cautious stride, she walked over to us. "Sophia, I appreciate you being here." While making her initial direct eye contact with me over the years, it held great significance for Grandma, I replied, maintaining the emotional distance I needed to protect myself. Emma nodded, and for an instant, I felt like I saw the sister I knew before everything went wrong. During the service, the priest's words resounded, emphasizing the importance of forgiveness and the fleeting nature of life. As I said my final goodbyes to my grandmother and any possibility of reconciliation, I couldn't help but question if it would ever be possible to forgive Emma in full. During our time together following the ceremony, as guests started to leave, Emma made another pass at Sofia, suggesting that they have a private conversation about us sometime. I glanced to Noah for reassurance, and he gave a subtle nod, suggesting that we give it a go. "Emma, for Grandma," I told him, making it clear that I was receptive to the idea. Despite the fact that the road to genuine reconciliation seems rocky as we departed from the cemetery, we were filled with a mix of emotions. A sense of closure, but also the hope of a fresh start, however tenuous it may be. There was an air of hostility during the funeral. Despite Emma's best efforts to embarrass me by gushing about her wealthy husband and idyllic life, my husband and daughter's presence at the burial served as a powerful reminder of the love and stability in my own life. The dreary morning light mirrored the storm of feelings I was experiencing as I made my way there with Noah and our daughter Charlotte. The air was thick with suspense as we made our way to the door. With her unique sense of style, Emma was the center of attention. As she chatted to someone about her spouse, Emma's voice soared above the general murmur. She told the person, "I have never been happier. My husband has been promoted again, and honestly, life couldn't be better." Surrounded by acquaintances, her voice sounded excellent. She silently supported me without squeezing my hand. Upon seeing us coming, Emma's tone shifted, and she turned to face me with a grin that fell short of her eyes. "Sophia, my darling, I'm glad you could make it. By the way, who are these people?" she was asking. "Inspecting Charlotte, pretending to be interested. "Hi, Emma." Despite my anxiety, I spoke up and introduced my husband Noah and our daughter Charlotte. Noah kindly extended his hand, and I responded, "It's a pleasure to finally meet you." "Hi, Emma." Sophia has been quite forthcoming with her family after a brief while of holding hands. Emma looked over at Charlotte, who was holding onto my skirt and watching the scene with interest. "You must be Charlotte. What a lovely girl," Emma remarked. Despite the coldness in her voice, Charlotte remained resolute. She said with assurance, "Yes, I am Charlotte." Her mother constantly stressed the importance of being kind, and, honestly, isn't that correct? "Oh, my goodness, it's crucial," stuttering Emma said, evidently taken aback by Charlotte's maturity. Her mother's innocent but forthright remark briefly threw Emma off her game. I jumped at the chance to share our story, not to brag but to demonstrate that genuine joy doesn't require attention-grabbing displays. Emma has been nothing short of amazing, and Charlotte is Life has a wonderful way of revealing the things that truly important to us, and I am grateful for that. I asserted. Emma, who was trying to regain control while staring at my family and enjoying the attention that had shifted away from her, said, "It's wonderful to see that you're okay. My spouse and I, you are aware that he has attained the position of vice president within his organization, and that Noah has also achieved professional success. Actually, he has a lot of respect at his hospital, but we should all remember that being there for each other is paramount." I spoke up to avoid having Emma's haughty audacity take over the discussion. "That's right, Noah. Absolutely. Nothing beats celebrating a win with those you care about the most." As Noah put a shielding arm across my shoulders, he continued, "We are extremely proud of Sophia, not only of her accomplishments but of who she is." I felt bad for Emma since she seemed irritated and her smile was fake when she nodded and said, "Of course, that's great. I should greet the other guests." She hurriedly apologized and left. I felt a mix of relief and disappointment when Victoria refrained from kissing my forehead and Charlotte embraced my leg as we walked together toward paying tribute to my grandmother. It was then that I realized how our family's genuine strength and love had shown through Emma's pretense, demonstrating that what matters most is love and mutual support, not status or outward appearances. During the memorial service, my daughter Charlotte, sensing Emma's advances, publicly rejected her son Thomas, expressing her disapproval of his behavior. After the first exchange between Emma and our family, the mood during the burial grew strained as her mother was being treated. Regardless of Emma's best efforts to draw attention to herself and downplay our joy, the princess, my 1-year-old, looked on with a serious and sympathetic expression as she watched. Thomas, who was quite young for his age, came up to Charlotte with the aim of playing as the grown-ups conversed. He was a young lad of around whose infectious enthusiasm and broad grin could have made him infectious, but Charlotte was not feeling game-like at the time. "Excuse me, would you like to play with me?" Thomas proudly displayed a tiny toy car he had just retrieved from his pocket. Charlotte glanced at him before turning to her mother, who she recognized by Emma's choice of words and tone. "No, a firm thank you," was her last response. Thomas attempted to force the issue by saying, "Let's go. It will be fun," as if taken aback by the response. The automobiles are up for grabs. With the adult's tension in the air and the memory of her mother's treatment fresh in her mind, Charlotte was resolute. He spoke honestly. "I don't want to play. Now is not a good time," as he could tell that Charlotte was not going to give in. With a grimace on his face, Thomas turned to face Emma and the other grown-ups. Charlotte took a deep breath and maturely stated, "My mom says we should always be kind and respectful to everyone. I don't like how your mom talked about mine." She then insisted, "Why isn't it just a game?" After standing back and observing, Emma hurried over, her nerves frazzled by the turn in the road. "That is taking place in this discussion, dear Thomas." The princess, after hearing Charlotte's last remark, "I went over to see if she would be interested in playing with my son. My daughter Charlotte needs some rest so she can maintain herself." "I agree with you, Emma, that funerals are a very solemn occasion that calls for solemnity and respect. It is a sad day after all, and I suppose you're right." Emma stared at Charlotte and then at me, plainly distressed but hesitant to make a fuss in front of the others. Noah finally admitted that he had. As he drew near, he placed a supportive hand on my shoulder. "Pay attention to the kids and treat their emotions with the respect they deserve." He addressed Emma and everyone around us by saying that they also feel and perceive the tensions. A nervous silence prevailed for the remainder of the ceremony. Nearby, Charlotte played serenely with a doll that she had brought. A strong defense and a reminder that values are paramount. Charlotte's capacity to detect and respond to negativity shone through despite her childhood. Members of the family, kindness, and understanding must win out. Emma, throughout even the most trying of times, appeared to think about how she had interacted with the children, showing that she may have realized the far-reaching effects of her words and deeds. After her husband William was fired due to a major medical mistake, Emma's life took a turn for the worse. Their marriage was unable to withstand the strain and continual arguments, which ultimately led to the legal separation. Following the incident at the hospital, Emma's life, which had previously appeared idyllic from the outside, started to crumble rapidly. A prominent surgeon named William ruined a patient's life and his own professional reputation by making a crucial mistake during a complex procedure. The tension between William and Emma finally broke out the night after his frequent tardiness returned home. With the living room lights turned down low, Emma sat there with a solemn gaze. "William, you're never going to be able to get home at a reasonable hour," Emma stated with a voice betraying her anger and exhaustion when he was late again. William collapsed onto the couch next her, clearly exhausted. "There has been anarchy at the hospital," Emma since she felt the need to cover her face as she described the ordeal, saying things like, "I'm not here to cope with all this alone," and asking why anyone would choose to ignore their family. "Your blunders are inevitable, and I must remain at your side no matter what," Emma responded, her irritation plainly visible. Tidying up after yourself with a mix of anguish and shame in his heart, William gazed at Emma. "I apologize, Emma." "Apologies. I didn't intend for this to happen. I'm working on a solution, but is insufficient." With each word, Emma's voice rose, and she suddenly sprang up, telling William, "It's not enough. Everyone is talking about the hospital, and you since you were sacked. and now I have to carry the shame. Our condition is untenable. William attempted to approach her in the hopes of finding solace or understanding. Emma, I need you to be there for me a bit more so that we can get through this. But Emma took a step back, tears streaming down her cheeks. Hey, William, I'm at my breaking point. Every day feels like a battle, and I get more resentful of you. I'm not sure whether this situation is worth rescuing anymore. Disagreements and disputes swirled throughout the following week. There was an air of icy tension at home, and their arguments appeared to exacerbate the situation. After much anticipation, on a dreary afternoon, Emma, the call on my name is William. It is essential that we have a conversation. William nodded, sensing the gravity of the situation, as he entered the kitchen and saw Emma waiting with 2 mugs of coffee and papers spread out on the table. Emma, what's happening? I believe it would be best if we stay together. The attorney I spoke with, the divorce documents are attached here. Although Emma's voice was strong, the anguish in her eyes was obvious as she announced. William held the documents in his hands, staring at them intently as if he could alter their meaning with a single glance. Emma, are you certain about this? Clearly, we are unable to. No way, William. I've already decided. In particular, I benefit from it, but we both stand to gain. My tranquility must be restored, and you must attend to your own affairs without bringing me down with you. The final words came out of Emma's mouth with a hint of resignation, as if she were ending a marriage. Tragically, the legal paperwork and heartbreak that began with so many promises and dreams without the guy she had previously adored and the realization that her formerly perfect existence was nothing more than a mirage, Emma faced an uncertain future on her own. Endeavor was ultimately nothing more than a front. Since Emma's divorce was already seen as a personal failure on her part, the disinheritance by our father, who had always been strict and placed a premium on the unity and public appearance of the family, dealt a further devastating blow to her already troubled situation. However, on a somber afternoon, Emma was summoned to the grand family home, a mansion that had hosted countless joyous occasions but now appeared more like a court, where our father sat in his study, a spacious room adorned with ancient books that lined the walls, patiently awaiting her arrival. It was Emma, he said without elaboration. While Emma is still adjusting to life after her breakup and the fallout from your recent acts, I have been thinking about the present scenario and what it might mean. Relentless assault, attempted self-defense on behalf of her father. Although William and I were in an impossible circumstance, we knew that a divorce was our best option. I was compelled to, with his hands clenched on the desk. Our father cast a critical glance in her direction. This is about more than simply the divorce. Emma, I'm afraid the answer will be yes, but I'm afraid it's because of your marital instability and the negative publicity our family has received. Are you saying this? My father made it clear that he was disinherited and that he would no longer provide financial support. He also expected that Emma would handle her own problems independently without bringing the family name into it. Emma felt as though her world was collapsing around her, but her father, from now on, you are solely responsible for your financial well-being. Our father's response lacked any sign of empathy, and I felt betrayed that he hadn't considered the impact of his decisions on our family's reputation before making them. Emma left the studio feeling abandoned and lost at the end of it all. Without the family's material and emotional support, the days that followed were even more difficult. Keeping up her lifestyle became increasingly difficult for her. She lost touch with her pals who had surrounded her during her glory days. Despite her growing sense of isolation, Emma persisted in her job search. However, her minimal experience stemmed from her reliance on family finances throughout her life, and each interview served as a sobering reminder of the importance of preparedness.
Door after door was slemming.
While seeking solace in a cozy cafe for some contemplation, Emma unexpectedly crossed paths with Clara, a long-lost acquaintance from her university days. After noticing the melancholy in Emma's eyes, Clara approached Emma with caution. You are the one I've heard whispers about, but no, yes, it's me, Clara remarked with a blend of worry and interest. And the moods are probably true. Emma sighed and agreed. Clara, I am totally alone. I have lost everything. With an ear available, Clara sat down next her. Understanding, can you tell me how I can be of assistance? To be honest, I have no idea if anybody can help. The encounter with Clara was a minor solace, Emma confessed, her voice quivering with despair. To escape the harsh truth of her loneliness and problems, Emma would spend many hours in for someone who has never faced adversity on her own. The prospect of starting over is terrifying, and she has been considering her options. She had lost all contact with her family and all of her financial resources due to her disinheritance. On a Saturday that was bright and warm, ideal for enjoying the outdoors, my life at home with Charlotte remained serene and joyful. We shared simple joys and went on walks, which strengthened our bonds even more. Emma faced her collapse, and the future was uncertain for her. Noah, the sunbeams poured in through the window as Charlotte and I enjoyed our breakfast in the kitchen, illuminating the space with a warm golden light. Her enthusiasm bubbling over as she enthusiastically discussed the day's plans with her father. "Dad, you said we could go to the amusement park soon, so we can go there today." Charlotte swung her legs in astonishment. Under the table, she waited nervously while Noah grinned and nodded, spreading jam onto her toast. "It is the ideal day for it, Princess." "Excuse me? After breakfast, would you consider going?" Definitely, definitely, certainly." While she was finishing her meal, Charlotte enthusiastically applauded. Her energy was contagious, and I couldn't help but crack a broad smile. We then discussed what attractions. First, I'd like to ride the bumper cars. Second, I'd like to ride the roller coaster, but not the enormous, terrifying one. As I was gathering the plates, Charlotte said, "All right, let's start with the bumper cars." I nodded in agreement. We were even more excited when Noah proposed having a picnic to dine there. After making sandwiches and assembling a fruit and juice bar, we set out for the amusement park. On the way there, we overheard many people laughing and singing, which Charlotte insisted on singing again and again. The park was alive with the sound of joyful music and the energy of youngsters and their families as they greeted us. Starting out the day with bumper cars was a blast. Noah and Charlotte had a blast bashing into each other, and I couldn't help but chuckle at their joyful and competitive looks from the shore. We rode the little roller coaster, and Charlotte, who had been apprehensive about it, let out a squeal of delight and begged to go on it again. Sitting in a peaceful part of the park, we enjoyed our picnic lunch about noon. These comprised the top-notch sandwiches. My mom said, "Having each other here is the greatest part, isn't it?" Charlotte is chewing on hers with delight. Noah made a loving comment, and we all agreed. We continued our afternoon of attraction seeing, fair game playing, and ice cream eating before heading home. Resting my head on the headrest, I responded, "Yes, today was a perfect day." Noah held my hand and intertwined our fingers as we drove, and Charlotte, who was fatigued but pleased, fell asleep in the van. In these mundane moments, I express my profound appreciation for my loved ones and the harmony we have achieved. I remarked, "No." He nodded while softly pressing his fingers into mine, "And I swear to you, there will be many more days like today." We found comfort together when Emma went through difficult moments. Finding delight in one another and life's little escapades, I learned that no matter what the world threw at us, my house would forever remain a safe haven where I could escape to experience love and joy. Comprehension made its way back to social media. Emma's efforts to exploit her internet presence to bash me and extol her own life backfired when her support system collapsed due to her recent divorce and disinheritance. Isolation became an ever-growing problem for Emma. Attempting to rehabilitate his image on social media, he created an unrealistically high-profile profile of success and happiness in a bid to reclaim some of his lost power and prestige. It soon devolved into a tirade of attacks meant to tarnish my reputation and that of my family. It became apparent to me one day, as I scrolled through my social media feed, that Emma was attempting to provoke me with a series of posts. A picture of her at a function was one of them. I felt a mix of annoyance and sympathy for her when I saw the caption of the gala photo, which said, "Sometimes people who have nothing try to tear you down. Fortunately, I always get up stronger and brighter." So I decided to call. Back to Noah with the news of his discovery, Sofia. I handed him my phone number and asked, "Have you seen the latest from Emma on the networks?" He didn't look at it and scowled. "Yes, I saw it," Sofia said. "It seems like he's trying to provoke you. What are your plans?" I really don't think it's best to remain silent. My response was that others will notice if she persists in making an image that doesn't match reality. Noah agreed with my choice to ignore her rather than approach her head-on, saying, "Very wise of you, my love." Giving her attention would only give her what she is looking for. I sat on the sidelines for the next several weeks while Emma persisted with her campaign on social media, posting anything from garish photos of her lavish lifestyle to subtle jabs at me. Even though she had a slow start with some individuals responding to her articles, I soon saw that this was far from the case. While sipping our coffee in the kitchen one day, we saw that the numbers were starting to go down. While fiddling with my phone, Charlotte spoke to Mom. "Aunt Emma claims to be happy in her posts, but why does she often seem downcast?" I was taken aback by Charlotte's perspective, which made me reflect on how easy it was for someone so young to understand the issue. Charlotte, on the other hand, sees people who put on a facade yet secretly harbor deep secrets. Being truthful with one another and with ourselves is paramount. The rest I tried to convey the importance of being genuine and truthful in the hopes that she would learn a lesson. As I perused Emma's social media that night, I noticed that one of her posts had remarkably few comments and almost no engagement. It was clear that my support system was starting to erode in the months that followed. The consequences of her activities became more apparent, and some individuals started to see through her efforts to create a world that didn't exist. Emma seemed to be frantic for the affirmation she so desperately sought, as she posted less often, and when she did, her attempts to degrade me or laud her own life seemed desperate. The more time passed, the more infrequently she appeared online, and the more she tried to insult me or bring herself into the limelight. Failed to garner any attention, demonstrating that sincerity and honesty elicit genuine support rather than embellishments intended to harm or impress others. Despite the difficulties, my emotionally distraught and regretful mother sought reconciliation by requesting that we reevaluate our relationship. My mother's voice pierced the line, and I was taken aback when I received a call that caught me off guard one cold, tranquil day. It was challenging, but I started to reevaluate the possibility of reconnecting while being cautious. Phone call while feeling anxious, and Esperanza, the daughter of Sofia. "Am I doing well?" "Yes, Mom. We're doing okay here," he said softly before saying, "I." Retrieved the response. Even though I was still hurting from the past, I spoke with a cautious yet open voice. His genuine voice stirred something within me. Of missing the good old days, I wanted to tell you everything that's been going on with us, but he kept hesitating. The honesty in his tone moved me, and I apologized for my role in the complexities that have arisen, particularly with your sister. It was very clear that he had given considerable thought to and effort into overcoming his personal feelings of shame and guilt. "It has been tough for everyone. I know that, Mom," I confessed, sensing the old defenses starting to crumble. "If it's at all feasible, I'd like to make amends and get back with you." With a heavy heart, he replied, "I know I haven't been there for you like I should have, especially when you needed it most." Genuine, I paused to collect my thoughts and feelings. "I've been thinking a lot about this, too, Mom. It's complicated." Indeed, however, there was a hush, but I believe there's opportunity to begin anew. On the other side of the conversation, there is a hush that conveys relief and hope. It makes me pleased to hear that you don't expect everything to be fixed right away, but that you are here, ready to do whatever it takes. "If necessary, it's a start," he whispered. "We can try. Maybe we can meet, talk in person not only about the past but about how we can build a future." In an effort to mend the relationship, I proposed gradually severing the protective barrier I had erected around my Sofia. "I would be thrilled if you could drop by my place. How about we go for a stroll?" He once again made his proposal through the garden, this time with a yearning tone that brought back memories of happier times before family strife cast a pall over the otherwise idyllic setting. "We can do that, Mom. I'll give myself a little leeway to be optimistic and contact you to coordinate when I mentioned it. The call is appreciated. Much obliged for your time." A sigh of relief escaped the daughter as she wrapped things up, seemingly erasing years of miscommunication, and, reflecting on the exchange, I hung up the phone in pain. I greatly appreciated my mom's attempt to reach out and be vulnerable with Emma, even though our relationship was far from healed. I made the cautious but hopeful decision to investigate potential avenues for reconciliation, in the hopes that we could be able to weave again, given enough time and patience. Stronger than previously, familial bonds, honesty, mutual understanding, optimism, and a will to persevere in order to safeguard and keep the peace within my family. Every day, I thank God with Noah and Charlotte, and I pledge to devote myself to creating a future devoid of poison and Emma's manipulations so that we can all live happily ever after. During the difficult times of conflict and betrayal, my main goal has been to fortify our small family. Noah and I have collaborated to overcome obstacles and create a loving and secure environment for Charlotte to grow up in. As she enjoys a peaceful afternoon with her baby sister, the garden was my playground. Noah and I lounged on the rear veranda, appreciating the gentle sound of the wind as it rustles the leaves. It was the ideal opportunity to take stock of our progress and feel proud of what we had accomplished. Noah, have you any idea of what we have accomplished as a team? I looked at him and asked, and he laughed so hard that he went after his kite. With a firm grasp on my palm, Noah confirmed that he too contemplates it daily. Plus, I am eternally thankful to have these two amazing individuals in my life. Through your power and love, you have led us. Feeling an unusual warmth, Sophia grinned. I listen to what she has to say because I want to provide for our family. I pray that Charlotte has the chance to thrive in this world while always remembering that her family is her rock. After overhearing us, Charlotte sprinted over and threw herself upon us. I embraced her tightly and told her, "We love you, little one. We will always be here for you." She cried out with the kind of pure delight that only a child can feel when we're all in the same room. It was after I put Charlotte to bed that I stayed. We discussed our future goals, including home renovations, a family vacation, and ways to be more involved in Charlotte's extracurricular activities. A communal initiative has been on my mind recently. Offered their thoughts, dear Noah. We hope to have created something that will allow other families to experience the same tranquility and security that we enjoy. How delightful. That is a fantastic idea. Perhaps we could arrange seminars or groups that provide aid. I couldn't agree with Noah more. Your wisdom and compassion might truly make a positive impact on the lives of countless individuals who are in need of assistance. I enthusiastically nodded in agreement. It's a great opportunity to give back and spread joy beyond our home. As we go forward, we deepen our family tie and continue to work towards a more compassionate and kinder world. Our resilience has kept us from. Not only can we overcome obstacles, but we can also turn them into chances to learn and grow, allowing us to lend a hand to those in need with our limited resources. The pillars that held us up were love and hope, which led us into a future unencumbered by the past specters. May it have been to your liking. Today's article, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what you found most intriguing or unexpected. Please share your thoughts by leaving a comment below. I really appreciate your opinions. Furthermore, should you have found the video, by the way, hit that like button and subscribe. See you in the next story on your screen so you don't miss out on the following ones.